So we just recorded a whole segment talking about the latest updates on what's going on with Trump in relation to Los Angeles. And then right before clicking post, something very relevant to that discussion happened, which is what you see on screen. I'll play this clip for you for more context, and then I'll just play what we already had recorded. And do stick around for that discussion. Very interesting stuff and important updates there. But Trump is openly calling for the arrest of Gavin Newsom. Can't name a crime. Well, he can name one. Take a look at this. Disturbing. This is crisis type stuff.
Just in time. It's still simmering a little bit, but not very much. Yeah, please.
Have you gotten
his arrest? What crime has Governor Newsom committed?
A crime has he committed? I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job. What he's done to that state is like what Biden did to this country. And that's pretty bad. It's a wrong philosophy. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, many of them prisoners. They're taking up your health care. They're taking
insane asylums, lottie. So saying on the record, and a reporter's asking what crime, and he says running for governor and then governing in a way that Trump didn't like. Newsom responds saying Donald Trump admits he will arrest a sitting governor simply because he ran for office. That's the words that Trump said. Absolutely frightening. Here's the rest of our discussion now with that context in mind. Trump sent the political world ablaze, well, in multiple ways, with the National Guard situation and him now calling for the arrest of a sitting governor. We talked about that in a different segment, but now we have Newsom's reaction. We have friend of the show, Jessiah, clashing with a conservative online. We have different updates about all that's going on. There was a video we covered of a literal dumpster that was on fire, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful, so nasty, and just I watch and I sit, and Robert E. Lee no longer in favor. Don't fight uphill, me boys. It really embodied what we're going through. So before reminding you of this Trump moment and then looking at Newsom's response and so many other things, I want to bring in Jessiah from Pondering Politics to break it down with me. Jessiah.
clean, beautiful.
Jessiah.
So listen, that's my dumpster fire right there. I don't know what this is, but yes, that was what a beautiful image to capture the second Trump presidency, except we are all in the dumpster as it bursts into flame.
You know, I never know what's going to come on the other side of that screen. All right, so let's start with the context, which is what has now been seen by everyone, this threat from Trump.
Tom Holman to come and arrest him. Should he do it? Tom, I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity, but I think it's a great thing. He's done a terrible job. Look, I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. We're putting a flagpole over there. Under budget. I always do under budget. What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ISIS trying to deport?
How do the reporters move on from that? He goes, yeah, arrest them. And the reporter goes, what do you say about the what? And his justification, Jessiah, before going any further, how can we move past, okay, he threatened a sitting governor, that's kind of big. But he also used the logic of the railroad's over budget, but my flagpole's under budget.
Yeah, well, that just goes to show how terrible Trump is at project management because, I imagine like a vast interstate, high-speed rail system is just a smidge more complicated than sticking a stick in the ground, maybe not to Donald Trump, but to the rest of us. And you're free to criticize the California rail system. There's a lot to criticize. Ezra Klein is doing quite a bit of that, but yeah, it's totally absurd. And moving on from that, the question, when he lies about the 2020 election, they do it now too. The election was rigged, and they're like, okay, so anyway, it's so stupid. The press is just totally. I love how people are like, the press is so hard on Trump. It's like, bro, they have given up. They have given up on Trump compared to like holding him too much accountable. It's totally the opposite issue.
Yeah, and what will happen is no matter what Trump says, the defense will be, wait, and we'll get to this later, but so you support people blowing up cars or something? No, what are you talking about? Yeah, people started breaking the law. That should be That shouldn't happen, and law enforcement should handle it. And the whole point here is there was no need to send the National Guard. He's trying to exacerbate the situation so it will be more insurrection-like, so that he can justify the expansion of his own power. So on an individual basis, any law breaking, anyone getting hurt, any clashes with the police, Waymo's, my poor Waymo's being hurt, that is bad, true. And it can also be terrible that Trump's trying to use the situation to go after a governor for what laws is he supposed to break? We don't know. But Gavin Newsom said the president of the United States just called for the arrest of a sitting governor. This is a day I hope I would never see in America. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. This is a line we cannot cross as a nation. This is an unmistakable step toward authoritarianism. And interestingly, in response to that post, you had a conservative guy named Brad Palumbo saying, do they not remember that Democrats literally repeatedly tried to prosecute and imprison Trump, including with some incredibly dubious charges by hyper-partisan prosecutors? To which a handsome fellow named Jessiah said, where did President Biden publicly call for Trump's arrest? Jessiah, what were you getting at there?
Yeah, so for context, Brad Palumbo is a libertarian, conservative commentator, nice guy, smart guy. He is a Trump critic. He was a Trump supporter, I think, in his first term, but he has since become a vociferous critic of Donald Trump. He appeared on Tim Pool and had a viral exchange with Pool that was about as bad for Pool as the one that Pool had with you that also went viral. So I like Brad. He was on the live stream show that I do once a week, Live and Learn. I was not able to make it, but he was in. So for context, I like and respect Brad Palumbo, but this is just, I think, a nonsense comparison, because what Gavin Newsom is speaking to is the fact that the sitting president is publicly calling for the arrest of his political opponent. Now, I want to be very clear, because MAGA's like, like kind of Brad says, Donald Trump was prosecuted. Here's the thing, and maybe you'll disagree, Luke. I don't have an inherent objection towards political opponents being arrested if those opponents broke the law. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, I don't advocate for a world where no Democrat can ever be arrested under a Republican president or vice versa. That's a get out of jail free card for the opposition. Like, well, I guess you can commit crimes with impunity since you're my political opponent, and it would look bad if you were arrested. I do not support that. It's okay under the right circumstances to arrest a political opponent. But you have to be really, really careful because of the inherent temptation towards corruption that entails. What Donald Trump did is publicly call for Newsom's arrest, number one, without citing any crime that Newsom committed, and number two, the president of the United States is supposed to be kept separate from the Justice Department. This is where people sometimes get confused. Does the Justice Department ultimately answer to the sitting president? Yes. The head of the Justice Department is Attorney General Pam Bondi. Trump can fire her, just like President Biden could have fired Merrick Garland. But in the post-Nixon era, a number of laws and norms were established to say, okay, in terms of overall broad policy, the president of the United States can set that policy. Like President Biden said, for example, like, hey, I don't want you guys focused on federal marijuana offenses. Like, don't be dedicating your time, effort, and energy towards like prosecuting federal marijuana prosecutions. And the Justice Department was like, got it. That's not our priority. But the sitting president is not supposed to be issuing instructions about you will prosecute this person or you will not prosecute that person. That's what President Nixon tried to do, which precipitated the Watergate scandal. So Donald Trump doing what he's doing is something that no Democrat has ever done. President Biden didn't call for Donald Trump to be arrested. President Obama didn't call for any Democrat or Republican to be arrested. And that is a meaningful difference.
Yeah, and Trump's absolutely brilliantly said. That's what Trump's now done multiple times. We saw it with Miles Taylor, Christopher Krebs, etc. He is actively directing his DOJ, and there's reports that Pam Bondi sees herself more of a performance actress, and that people like Stephen Miller are more directly calling the shots. So that independence, however present it was, has just been obliterated so that he can do stuff like this and threaten Gavin Newsom, which is
Luke, can I mention this?
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Pam Bondi, I think it's important while we're on the topic. mainstream media. Did you know that President Trump saved 850 billion lives this past week with fentanyl interdictions? Luke, did you even talk about that? I bet you didn't, Luke, because you're part of the lamestream media.
Oh, gosh. This next clip exposes Trump so badly, so hardly. Before playing it, please do click the subscribe button for this channel if you appreciate it. And then Jessiah has a channel, Pondering Politics. You'll search that. We'll link it below and support his work as well. We just did a video together on his channel. But here's Trump saying back in 2020 when he was president, no, I can't send in the National Guard unless the governor requests me, unless we're talking about like an insurrection, but that's not something we would even be close to.
I promised 4 years ago at the Republican convention, I'm going to restore law and order.
And I have,
country.
except in Democrat-run cities. Look, we have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that, even in a Portland case. We can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
What was going on in Portland was far more severe than what's happening now in Los Angeles, especially when Trump started mobilizing the National Guard. It was eensy-weensy compared to what was going on in the summer of 2020. And even back then, he was saying, I don't have the power to do that. You couldn't do an insurrection invocation here, Insurrection Act invocation. And that, in his own words, destroys his legal argument that now another way that California is fighting back against what they see as Trump acting outside the law is suing the Trump administration over this lack of legal authority.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem. Like, when you're thinking of the Portland situation, I was like rewinding back the clock. Like, that was Chaz. That was, that area. I think it was in Portland, if I remember correctly, where they blocked off that section and basically temporarily, had their own little miniature government, de facto government for a few days or weeks. Like, yeah, that is far more extreme than what's going on here. And you could easily make the case, as many state and local leaders are in California, that Trump's activation of the National Guard, violating norms and tradition and quite possibly the law, the Newsom administration is suing the Trump administration over this very fact, is what is escalating the conflict now. That the previous few days, the LAPD and local and state authorities had this wrapped up. Dude, as a matter of fact, Luke, I don't know if you remember this, but Trump, I think it might have been Saturday night. He was like, thank God the National Guard got there and they quelled, all the violence in Los Angeles. And as people pointed out, the National Guard never got there. It wasn't until the following morning. In other words, Trump basically told on himself that LAPD got this, we got this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he totally undercut himself. The hypocrisy is staggering. This is just about, again, desensitizing the American people to the notion of having federalized National Guards, used against state and local leaders, and also the potential for U.S. Marines, which is what Pete Hegseth proposed as well, which would be an even greater escalation. There's a notion called posse comitatus, which prevents the military from being used as domestic law enforcement. The National Guard is supposed to be what you do, right? If you really need to back up domestic law enforcement, the governor or the president can activate the National Guard. But Hegseth's saying, you know what, if the National Guard doesn't cut it, we'll send in the Marines. I mean, this is staggering escalation.
Just taking a quick break from the LA stuff, I want to get your take while you're here on Tripgate. Donald Trump tripping on the stairs. Did you see? I think you responded to one of the guys. Yeah, Joey Manarino, one of the MAGA guys, who said, people will say this is a stumble. It's not. This is what happens when you have massive testicles and you sometimes trip over them. And I think you tweeted about this, but what was your response to that post?
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous.
It's
totally ridiculous. As a matter of fact, oh my God, I just tripped right there, Joey. Just letting you know. Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. Like, they're obsessed with this man's like genitals. It's nuts. It's nuts. I didn't mean to do that. That's funny.
I love you,
that's
Jessiah.
funny. Thank you. That's insane, because the other thing is that we need to have a serious conversation, Luke, and we do need to get serious right now. I think that we're in a state of crisis. The commander in chief is clearly physically unfit to be. I mean, if if you can't safely navigate a flight of stairs, how can you possibly navigate, high stakes negotiations with Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping? He's clearly not mentally or physically fit to be president. And I quite frankly believe that Vice President Vance and the cabinet need to seriously consider invoking the 25th Amendment. And quite frankly, too, there's polling to back this up. There's polling all throughout the 2024 election. And even now that Trump his age is affecting his ability to govern. And, in poll after poll after poll last year, a majority of Americans had questions about Trump's mental fitness to be president. And so if this is how he is 6 months into his second term, I don't know there's any way to believe that he'll make it all the way to the end of his second term in a state of like reasonable health and mental fitness. So I really think we need to have a discourse about it. And I'm told that Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson of Axios are actually starting to write a new book as we speak. I mean, yeah, of course.
Well,
like this is shit that we should be talking about.
The whole situation is pretty sad. It is sad. Mm-hmm. But I actually have the book. Truth, Trump's Decline. Who I Knew and Who Told Me. This came after my bestseller, Trust, Biden's Decline. What? I knew. And who's to blame? So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, you can get. But what's funny was people's like, what I was just admitting to Matt was, guys, we're just having fun. Okay, we're having fun. But some of them were so mad, so they were posting split screens like this. No, Biden's trip was worse. No, we know it. Just stop it, stop. This is just a funny photo. You can't
it's not.
help it.
Plus, besides, like if you pay close attention to President Biden's footage there, what people don't understand is that the president was actually doing the stanky leg on the stairs of Air Force One. Did you not see it? He was like twisting. He was like doing the stanky leg right there. Like it was,
what
I
said on this morning's morning show was, I appreciate a president who commits, who is dedicated. So when he's going to trip all the way up them stairs, okay? He's not going to just do a little half-seat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Biden's over there like palms on the floor twerking right there. I mean, like that was, he was like, shake it, Mr. President, shake it. Yeah. I mean,
so good.
I listen, they're just jealous of his dance moves, quite frankly. I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I talked about in the morning broadcast was how heartbroken I am that Waymos are being brought into this clash, because I am a Waymo connoisseur. I love Waymo. I treat Waymo well. Waymo treats me well.
I don't know what that is.
Really?
What are those? I need
are
Waymo
fully
information.
Autonomous. Oh gosh, was that all just
I really
for a
don't,
joke?
No, I really don't know what
down.
I really don't know what it is, but I do need Waymo information.
Okay, good job. So it's these, like, they drive Uber, but they're fully self-drive or autonomous. No, you don't have to have a driver. It drives you. One? I've been in a bunch of them. I love them.
Oh, okay.
And I have Uber where I say specifically pick those for me. So there's no driver, and it just is. It's very technological, and it's fancy. And so, anyways, I was ranting about how we can't treat Waymo like that. You shouldn't destroy property in general, but don't go after my beloved Waymos. And in response, someone said, Andrew said, I would like to have it on record before AI cars start murdering us for sport tomorrow that I strongly condemn us murdering AI cars for sport today. And it's a good thought. This is another point, if we treat Waymos so terribly, then eventually, we just talked about too, AI, ChatGPT, overriding orders to shut down, and they're gonna come back for us. Okay, right now you're having a lot of fun. You got a skateboard breaking in the windshields of a Waymo. Next thing you know, Waymo gets revenge.
Yeah, as somebody who is but a humble country bumpkin who has never experienced the pleasures of Waymo. I saw some of these things, like the footage of the cars on fire. You're like, yeah, obviously that's wrong and that you're breaking the law
but
there.
Waymo, though, specifically. Sorry, keep going.
But Oh yeah, so to be clear, Luke is okay with like non-autonomous cars being set ablaze. No, I mean, when I saw the reporting on this, I was like, what the hell is a Waymo? And I just kept scrolling. Like I just saw car on fire. It was like car, fire, TV, camera, dolphin, and I did my own mental fitness test there too. But yeah, we don't want to piss off our AI overlords, especially because Elon Musk is already on the warpath, and he's like, isn't he like a leading figure in AI already? So this isn't good.
Last thing I want to get your take on, Elon Musk, speaking of, nice segue, said this is not okay in response to, I'll describe for our podcast listeners, speaking of Waymo as well, a guy with a mask, shirtless, fit guy, strong guy, healthy guy, standing on top of a Waymo that has been destroyed, waving a Mexican flag. And Ted Cruz said, fully agree. Why is every elected Democrat celebrating? Can someone find me a Democrat, elected Democrat, celebrating property damage? I want to know. I want to know.
Like, they send the link in the comments.
And the other thing I'm going to talk about on our bonus show, click the join button below, it's going to be fun, was they do this split screen where they go, is it so rad? People call me a Nazi because I want this over this. And the original this is a shot of a family in a skincare ad from the 1980s in a pretty house, split screened with a guy with a Mexican flag on a burning Waymo. And it's like, what are these options you're presenting us? Does it make me a Nazi to want... and then another one, which is American flags, like on a street during a 4th of July parade. You know, LA will have a 4th of July parade too. I don't know what they're... what do they think we're arguing? That we want the guy standing on the car burning?
Here's a serious... I saw a CNN clip about this. I was going to do a video about it, but then I got distracted with other things. But like the contempt that the right has for major metropolitan areas in this, like we talked about it before. Like I'm just imagining if a Democratic politician openly denigrated rural areas the way that Republican politicians shit talk urban areas. Like, just it's frustrating, that asymmetry, because we're all American, right? I mean, like a small town in Kentucky is no more or less American than New York City, right? And there's this, people talk about liberals being elite and condescending. Like there's a lot of condescension directed at majority population centers like major cities, Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, and others as well. Blue city, like where the vast majority of people in this country are. And it would be like me, as somebody who has lived in red rural states and now lives, in a city in a purple state. It would be like, this or that or whatever. It would be like me, like showing the beautiful Charlotte skyline on one side, and then, a cousin marrying another cousin in Kentucky at a small church there, and be like, I'd rather have this than that. You know what I mean? Like we could do this shit all day, and it's really frustrating. Yeah. It's really frustrating.
Exactly. That's what it is. Like, yes, there are things going on that aren't super great right now. Some that Trump is inflaming. I saw another one that was a car burning. I don't want this. Instead, I want this. And it was a really pretty coastal place with people walking with like ice cream. But then you check and that place voted for Harris 70% or something. So you want it to be a different blue area that's just not experiencing right now temporary riding? What are you talking about? You're just saying random things. And it's because they can't. The argument's not fun for them if it's arguing against people who also oppose lawbreaking, but just want to oppose individual random people lawbreaking and powerful people lawbreaking. We also want to oppose when Trump's the one lawbreaking, right? So they don't want to have to contend with that. So it has to be this straw man of elected Democrats are rooting on the massacre of Waymos. Jessiah.
Yeah, and I don't think people will find any of that anywhere, but that's Ted Cruz for you. He was also reposting videos of like recycled videos, I think, from actor James Woods from 2020, pretending that it was from this particular set of protests in Los Angeles. So he's just a predictably dishonest loser.
Jessiah, remind people where they can support you.
They can find me at youtube.com/@Pondering Politics, one word, or Pondering Space Politics if you just go to the YouTube search bar. Luke, I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be collaborating again soon.
Thanks.